Hello, vagina. Cheers to being a woman. But womanhood, it's a jungle down there. Get ready to be real, raw, and totally uncensored as we explore the depths of health, sex, motherhood, and relationships. Strap in for those topics that make you cringe, make you blush, and make you want to hide your face. Welcome to the Hello Vagina podcast. Hello and welcome back to the Hello Vagina podcast. With me today, I have Alice Bingham. She is a wife, a mama of three, a nurse, and a blogger. Welcome to the show, Alice.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be on the show. I've loved listening to your episodes so far. An amazing podcast.
Awesome. Well, today's topic, we're going to talk about self-love. And I think this is a really important one that as women, we neglect really badly. And we struggle with how to implement a little self-love and be kind to ourselves. Can you share a little bit of your story and what self-love means to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, like in my early 20s, I've always been like, growing up, like it was always a bit of like loved picking food. I'm the eldest of 8 children. I'd always be like, oh, are you eating that? Are you eating that? And I'd always finish their plates for them too. And like, it never bothered me growing up. Like I always had like this self-respect and kind of was so oblivious to all that until I got to like in grade 11 and 12 when you start becoming like more cautious and you've got magazines, and they're all like, yeah, this person is the image, or they've got these 2 women and they're like, who wears it better? And like they're always comparing women. And I guess you kind of, I guess what today's social media is doing to some people. And like as I started getting through my 20s, I just was like, wasn't happy within myself. And I was like, I wasn't really happy with my weight. So I went through this big journey of losing 20 kilos. One, like I look at this still as a positive. I don't look at it as a negative. Like I became like a really strong person, became very fit, very healthy. But then I also became really obsessed on a health journey. Like it wasn't beginning, it started with weights and the weight on the scales. And then it kind of slowly dipped into, what organic foods am I eating? Like I took the stress out of the weight on the scales to kind of getting into this journey of becoming obsessed with all this healthy eating as well. And, and finding that balance. And I was I honestly, I look at myself when I was like probably like 54 kilos, I would not even have a clue what I weigh anymore. But when I looked at myself then, I was like, everyone was like, oh, you look amazing. You look so good. But I never felt good. I was always on the hunt for something more. And then my husband and I was like, we weren't married at the time, but we were starting to think about having children. And then I still hadn't had a period because I'd lost so much weight so quickly over a period of time. And I still hadn't, I hadn't had a period, and then took us nearly not a full year, but like a lot of failed pregnancies every month. So when I finally became pregnant, I had this like newfound love for my body. I was just so like grateful to be pregnant and over the moon. And I just kept thinking about like those tears every time I'd had a failed pregnancy test. And just to have like, to see those, that pregnancy, like I was pregnant on this test would just overfill me with joy. And I was like, I can't live with like abusing myself or feeling guilty for eating this, or I just can't do it anymore. I had no idea if I was having a girl or a boy, and to this day it still doesn't matter on how I portray that with my children. But that's kind of what clicked for me. Like when I started seeing this life grow inside of me was when that's kind of where on my blog I really started preaching a little bit more about self-worth and self-love. And I guess that would be how I started it. And generally what started my journey now, which is always going to be a journey.
Yeah. And it definitely is a journey, and we go through so many different seasons in our lives of what's important, and things change, you know. It's funny, we sort of look back, and I have a 20-year-old sister, and you're like, you know, she went through a bad breakup at New Year's last year, and you're like, oh, you're 19, like, don't worry, he's probably like, chances are your forever guy's not going to come around for like a good another 10 years. But at the time, you know, things matter to you in a different way. And you do go through these things of being influenced by, you know, these skinny, super skinny girls, the thigh gap. And it's like, it's funny, even just society now has changed, where people like the Kardashians that are giving this more voluptuous look, you know, girls aren't wanting to be as skinny, you know, supermodel skinny with a giant thigh gap, because the media is sort of portraying like being a little bit more curvy is better, which is a good thing. But it's, you know, it's so difficult. You get into these headspace where you just become obsessive, and you're like, no, like I want to get to this. I want to, if I get to that, I'll be happy. I'll be happy within myself. And it's finding that change where you don't have to have a goal to find happiness.
Yeah, and like you said, like it is amazing they've brought like that more voluptuous like body in, but then I sometimes see these like gorgeous girls that are naturally skinny anyway, like that's their build, and then they're just so upset that they can't build a bum or they can't do this, and they're like, well, you know, that there's so many things that we become like, you know, like you said, we're just working towards this goal to be happy, but then when you get there, you're like, well, I thought I would feel amazing, like, you know. And like I was even like, when I got to that goal, I was like almost craving people just telling me, going, oh my God, Alice, you've lost so much weight, you look so good. And I'd be like, thrive off that. Or if someone didn't notice, I'd be like, oh, maybe I need to go and work out harder. Like, you know, like it just becomes so much of an obsession. And and I was like, you know, that's looking back at that. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen anymore, because sometimes it does creep back in. But yeah, looking at that, I'm like, oh man, I really wish I enjoyed myself that little bit more. But I wouldn't be where I am today. So I wouldn't, you know, that's all part of my journey. And I wouldn't be doing what I get to do now on Alice in Healthy Land, or connecting with, you know, women on that level, if I wouldn't have gone through that myself. So yeah.
Definitely. So something that you definitely preach more now is to enjoy the journey. And that's something that I definitely, with my clients in my gym, is to tell them that you might not be where you want to be, but that doesn't mean you have to hate yourself now. You know, give yourself credit for the little wins, for the positive things that you're doing today. Even though it's not the end goal, you don't have to be hard on yourself because you're not. Like, try to find those little blessings in everything that you're doing now, to have more, you know, love what you're doing. Like, your body is an amazing thing, you know. As women, we make babies, like that's incredible. It really is incredible, you know, that we can create this life. And, you know, like you said, how hard it is to fall pregnant. Like, you know, I watched this documentary once, and it was like a life-size version of like how it happens. So it was like men dressed as sperm or something, like running across a field that was meant to be like, you know, just the vaginal cavity, and then it gets to like this maze of trees, which is your cervix. And like, when you were watching it, you're like, it really is incredible. Like, your body, your cervix has got all these dead ends in it, like to trick, because it just wants the best to make it through to the end of the tunnel. And you're like, it really is an incredible, not only the timing for an egg, but the journey that it has to go through as well. You're like, it really is an incredible thing. And then our bodies can grow these amazing humans.
It really is, isn't it? Like, it just blows my mind as well. And like, I feel as well, like after having Crazy, I still had all this amazing proudness about my body, like especially after giving birth. Like, I was like, whoa, like my mum had eight children vaginally, and I'm like, in 10 years, like one set of twins, and I'm just like, high five, like I did that. But I'm like everyone is like, we are all so amazing, or you know. And I was just like, you're a legend. I was like, wow, so blown away. But then after a few months after having Crazy, like I started to feel like that self-doubt come back, and seeing all these people like because like I'm completely honest, like I used to do a box jump or do some skipping and then I'd wet myself, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that at the gym. I'm like, because I obviously was like straight back into the gym after him, and then
yeah,
you know, and Dave and I were getting married like that year as well, so I feel like I could slowly seeing myself become unhealthy in the way I was thinking again. Like I was like, you know, oh, my body can't do this because I don't have strong enough pelvic floor, so I can't do that and I can't do that. And, you know, that self-negative talk comes back, and, you know, you've got to slowly work through it within yourself. And yeah, and I started opening up about this too. And then like so many people like, and when you do open up about self-doubt, you will get people going, oh, you know, you're so ungrateful, blah, blah, blah. But people do, like, we are human. We do feel things. It is okay for us to have a bit of self-doubt. Like, as long as eventually we pull ourselves out of that rut. But I find once you finally pull yourself out of that rut, then you can really see that you are, you know, you're really grateful for for your good times, because, yeah, we are human. We are going to struggle sometimes. Like, it's part of our, you know, chemical makeup in our brain sometimes to have these feelings. And it's not that you're ungrateful, it's just sometimes you can't help it. It just takes over your mind, doesn't it?
Definitely. And I think, you know, people that are portraying that their life isn't like that are not giving you the full picture, because everybody, even the most confident people, still have self-doubt. Like, it's just a normal human behavior. But like you said, it's about trying not to get stuck in that, but to actually accept it and then find the steps to move forward and past
work
it.
through it. And yeah. And what worked for me, like, might not necessarily work for everyone else, but like, I've kind of over the years now got it, like, when I start to feel a little bit like, I've had 3 children now, and I'm currently 8 months postpartum. This was like, I had a very traumatic birth with my third, 2 vaginal births to begin with, and then I had a very traumatic birth with Lottie. And this time around, like, I don't know if it was like from the universe or whatnot, but I had a C-section and she was breached the way she got pulled out. Like, my recovery was so much longer. But there were some times there, like, where I really did enjoy that I took it that bit slower this time. Like, I've changed up my workout routine a little bit more this time around, just really slowly, and like really looking after my postnatal health, because you know, and when I start to see myself go into like this I wouldn't say negative thoughts, but like self-doubt and like, oh, I wish I was already back doing this at the gym. Yeah. Like, I've got little strategies in place that I'd kind of, you know, have for myself that I know that pulls me out of these ruts now. Yeah. So yeah, like, even just going for a walk, I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I can't do an hour at the gym, but I might just go for like a little walk, get outside in the sunshine. Or, you know, I have a gratitude diary that I write in every day, and I've had a little play whether I do it at night or in morning time, and just little things like that are practice for self-love for me. Or, you know, giving myself a really nice yummy food of good nourishing food. Like, for me, that is all like my self-love practice now. Yeah. And yeah, but, you know, I openly share this, I still have some really down moments when you're just like, oh, nothing fits me and I should be doing this by now because this woman is. And but it's part of it's really hard to I would say I would never be 100% happy with myself all the time. It's just not real. So like
you touched on with your postpartum body, you know, it's something that I talk to women about on a daily basis, and everybody's pregnancy is different, and therefore everybody's postpartum journey is going to be different. Every pregnancy that a woman has is different. Like, you can have 3 completely, you know, you had 3 children and all pregnancies were different. You're sick in one, you're not sick in one. One seems easy, one you're a lot more tired in. The same with your deliveries. Like, everything about pregnancy is completely unique to that pregnancy. So it's going to be the same postpartum as well. You know, you may have pelvic floor weakness, you may not have pelvic floor weakness, you might have ab separation, you might just feel more exhausted because you're also looking after a newborn. So it's not just, you know, in terms of our health, it's your nutrition, it's your exercise, it's your sleep and your hormones. Like, they're the 4 main factors that affect how you feel. You know, you might be able to find the time you might be eating good food, you might be able to go to the gym,
But when you can't control your sleep and your hormones, because that's
Yeah.
where your stress levels are out of your control, unfortunately, this little human takes takes control of that. So you've got to give yourself a little bit of a break on, you know, this expectation that you put on yourself. And it, you know, it's a shame that a lot of people do sort of put this snap back on social media, and it gives women sort of an unrealistic expectation, you know, like the skinny model thigh gap. Because if they weren't snapping back, they probably wouldn't share it. And, you know, it's great to start to see more mums sharing their real journey where their body's not snapped back. They don't look like they've never had a baby at 1 month postpartum. So that we're getting a more realistic picture of what it actually looks like, so that we don't compare, and trying not to compare, because your body is different to somebody else's. Your metabolism, your pregnancy, your journey, how your baby's sleeping, whether you're breastfeeding, like there's just so many things that factor in. You know, so give yourself a break. Yeah, like there's just so many factors that make your journey so much harder. So there's some great tips that you were saying about your gratitude, you know, using your gratitude journal. For those that follow Kmart here in Australia, Kmart actually
sells. Where mine's from.
Yep, it's like $7. It's a cute, you know, it's a cute little book. So it's definitely, you know, easy and accessible for everybody to grab one. There's also
write it on a piece of paper if you really don't, like if you just want to have a dollar notepad or something, or write it in your phone if you want each day, and then do it at the end of the night. I think like, I do doing that for me, like looking at what I'm grateful for in my day, what I want to focus on. That's on in the Kmart one, like what are some focuses that you want to work on today. But like the things that you're grateful for don't always have to be that, you know, you might have, like sometimes for me, like I actually love listening to a podcast while hanging the washing out alone. I find that so therapeutic. And like I'm just in my own little world doing folding washing or hanging it out, like with my earphones on. For me, I was like, oh, I'm so grateful I got that time to do that today while the girls had their nap. Or, you know, just little things like it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to say, we all know that we're grateful for our home, the roof over our head, our children. But it could even just be like a little moment with your baby today, or a little achievement that, oh, my baby slept for a little bit longer than 3 hours in one go. Like, or I got to go for a little walk up to my local cafe, like, or a gym. I got to hang out, you know, go to the PT. But it can just be little things that we're grateful for. It doesn't have to be like, you know, your house, your home, your family, which you can be in there. But it's nice to look at the little things in your life that are happening as well, and those little achievements, so you can see that you are doing a good job. So
taking those little moments to yourself, you know, those little mindful minutes where you know, stop for a minute and you feel your coffee, the warmth, the smell, and just having that moment, you know, they are the things that you can be grateful for, is to be able to just be. Like, it doesn't actually
have to be anything. You can sit on the couch for 5 minutes and be grateful that you allowed yourself to do that. Like, you know, we don't, like I was saying to you before we started this podcast, I'm like, oh, I have so many things that I need to do. Like, why my 2 older children are at daycare, but I'm like, I just want, you know, an hour just to sit with Lottie and play on the floor with her and just watch her smile. And that today was like a huge part of my gratitude today, like letting myself not do my to-do list while I'm doing that with my child, because we do become consumed with being busy, and, or, you know, we have to do a workout, we have to do a walk, we have to do meditation, then we've got to run a business, then we have to do a side hustle, then we have to be a good mom, good wife. We do have all these expectations these days, which I think also has a huge effect on our self-worth and self-doubt and self-love and everything. Like, I feel like that all drives towards, you know, how we're going to feel emotionally that day as well. So,
we do tend to take on all the hats, you know. I think as women, we tend to not want to ask for help. We're like, no, I've got it, I've got all of it. It's like when you're just going to buy 2 things at the shop and you end up with arms full, and you're like, should have got a basket. You're like, no, I've got it. It's like falling out everywhere. You're like, no, I'm fine.
But it's nice to also be like, it's also nice to be okay to not, like, you know, if you don't want to do all that too one day, like you have to be okay with allowing yourself to do that. Like, yeah, you know, we really do like I do believe that, you know, I do have a few businesses myself. I've got a blog, I'm on maternity leave, I'm a mum, all these. Like there is a lot of hustle there, like I get that, but it also has to be okay to not want to do that sometimes. And or if it might not be your path, you might really enjoy working at the cafe that you work at or wherever you work, and coming home to your children and just enjoying their presence. Like, you know, you just got to be okay with, you know, with what you want to do with your time as well, and not feel guilty. Again, comparison syndrome with what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And assuming the grass is greener, like the grass is green where you water it. I think that was like the best saying that I ever heard. And it's, you know, it doesn't just apply to relationship, but it applies to everything in every aspect of your life. Like your grass is green where you water it. If you're, you know, you can't just look at somebody else's grass when you're not putting anything into yourself, whether that's yourself, and giving yourself some self-love, whether it's your job, it's your time with your kids, it's your relationships with other people, with friends. It's easy to be like, oh, I wish I had that. But you need to take that time to sort of look, what are you doing in your daily life that could move you to having that, rather than just admiring from afar on what other people are doing. And taking steps to change and to give yourself a break. Give yourself that moment to breathe and to be okay with being still. I guess that term of like being still, we're starting to, I find, get these sort of terms coming about that are sort of new, and our minds, I think for a lot of people, go to like this sort of weird yoga, you know, zen place. But it doesn't have to be like that. It's just, you know, stopping yourself for a moment and thinking, and just plan what you want to do, because we can so easily get caught on that hamster wheel of just running and running and running. And you're like, how did we, you know, now is a perfect example. How are we almost at November? Like, where did this year, where did the hamster?
Well, I even do, like, I know, and this might not work for everyone, but for me as well, like, I do get to a point, like I said, I do have quite a little bit going on in my life all the time. Like, and my husband sometimes leaves at 5 a.m, doesn't get home till 7:30, 8 at night. So it's me from the word go to me to when they're in bed at night. And I've actually put in my diary now, like, spend 3 hours with my children, just being present, keep my phone away. Or if I'm with a girlfriend, like if I'm hanging out with a friend, don't pull your phone out. And I put it in my calendar, no phone time, or spend 2 hours. And like, it can sound a bit silly to someone, like, oh, you've just put 3 hours in your diary to spend with your kids or to do this. But I'm like, no, but it is really amazing. Like, I don't then go and secretly just pick up my phone and go and scroll, because I was like, no, this is what I've mapped out for myself. And when I do really want to smash out like 2 hours work, it's mapped in my diary going, okay, the girls are sleeping today. Cruz is really happy doing this little activity on the floor. I'm going to absolutely smash out this and get it done in 2 hours or 45, however long I have. And I found that now I'm becoming a little bit more organized in my life. I'm finally becoming a little bit happier. Then I'm not feeling so overwhelmed, or I'm not feeling guilty if I'm, you know, if I'm not working. I'm like, no, this is in my diary. This is when I'm actually going to do this. Or so I found that's helped me a lot. It doesn't work for everyone, because not everyone likes to tick boxes and plan, but for me it works amazing. And I'm that's what I'm working on at the moment. So
no, I'm actually doing the same. I have multiple business things on the go, and I need to actually, I'm like a cat, like, oh, what was that? Oh, what was that? Like, and I'm all over the place. And then I get to the end of the day and I'm like, I don't feel like I did anything today. I did a lot, but I also feel like I did nothing. So I need to actually block out time, like, for this hour, I'm going to do nothing but this, and try to focus in. And it's like you said, they're just little tools. It may help you. It may not be something. I love lists. Kmart brought out a new, it's like a list. It's literally just a book with lists, like, so that you can write dot point lists and tick them off, because I write in so many books. I've got Post-its everywhere. I like lists. Lists aren't for everybody.
Me
but
too.
Lists work for some people. And it's about finding those little tools to help organize your life a little bit, to set goals, You know, I'm big on goal setting and sort of planning yourself out, because if you don't know where you want to go, then you can't work out the steps that you need to take to get there. So I'm big on sort of sitting down and doing some, you know, goals on where you want to go, what you want to do. And that can be as simple as just, you know, like you said, planning out your day so that you can get through the things that you want to do, spend time, feel like you've got that balance in your life. Between time for yourself, time with your kids, time with your family, time with your friends. I think we're all just so time poor now because there's just so much, and we have so much stimulation at our fingertips all the time.
And we have opportunities too. Like we have so many more like we do tend to get lots of amazing opportunities that come from other opportunities that you've said yes to. So, and you know, I know you can't do everything and that, but that also can inspire you to go, this time next year I want to be here, or I want to be doing this. And it's like, I really love having those kind of goals as well and working towards that. And like I said, really embracing on the small wins that get you there. But it is really important. And it doesn't have to be a work goal either. It could just be like, oh, hey, I really want to work on this kind of thing with my son, with parenting goals together, or your goal could be like spending an hour with your husband once a week, maybe picking a Netflix show, or, you know, or hey, let's have sex and do this a few days a week on these days, babe. Let's work on. They can be like totally different goals. Like they don't have to be, I want to be a CEO, or, you know, for some people that is, but you can work on like small goals as well, which is really cool when you see yourself achieving them too. So
definitely. So touching a little bit earlier, we touched on like nourishing foods as another thing that you do as a way of your self-love. Can you tell us a little bit more about sort of how you got into that sort of path? Did that come from when you got into that more heavily fitness focused?
Yeah, well, I wanted to figure out, like, when I was losing weight, I guess, or even just even in between when I was just training to feel really healthy, I wanted to, like, start looking up foods that work for me. Like, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not, you know, but I loved recreating recipes, and I've always loved researching. Like, I've got food textbooks, I've got essential oil textbooks. I've always loved that kind of, you know, looking into that kind of research. But I think as well, like I'm a registered nurse, and I've worked I've done a bit of palliative care. I've worked in young children that have been unwell, and I've worked in theatres. Like I've worked with a lot of different areas of nursing over the years, and just seeing those families that are, you know, they're dealing with parents that have cancer, or their young children. And for me, it was like, I just want to give myself and my family, like, you know, the best opportunity at life. And that's kind of why I got into making like all these recipes. And then people started going, or I'll make them for a friend, and they'll be like, oh, can you write that down, or can you share that? And I'm still learning. Like, I don't know, like what I was eating 3 years ago and what I'm eating now is totally different. And I guess, again, like you said, all of our bodies are different. So I've never given nutrition advice, because I was like, you know, I'll leave that up to the experts. But these are just recipes that I've loved and love making for my kids. And I think that's kind of how I got into, you know, looking at nourishing foods and going off how my body feels as well. And so that's kind of how I got
into traditional foods, but how can we add some extra vitamins and minerals? And your body definitely loves you for it. Like, it's something that until you sort of get into a habit of really sort of going into those foods that really help your body, like, you don't actually realize how much your body does actually like these fruits and vegetables and these whole foods, that your body actually really starts to function in a different way. Your digestion can start to function in a different way. Your gut health, which are all things I think we're definitely starting to, as a society, learn more about, and how it actually makes you feel, but that you don't really realize that it can make you feel completely different. Just
and emotionally, like eating well for me. Like, I know when I'm not eating something that's right for my body. I'm not necessarily going to say junk food, because some certain foods for me don't work for me as well. Like, it's not necessarily what's put on the market as junk food, but you know, when I'm eating certain foods, I'm like, oh, I feel really sluggish. Or when I'm training, like, like I'm slowly getting back to that place. Like I actually, one of my girlfriends has a challenge on the Sweat app. Like she has Shawnee, owns a gym, which I love going to, but I can't always get to. So I've been using her Sweat app just slowly, because I'm doing studio Pilates as well and working on my own, building my strength back in my abdomen and lower back. But I just did like a 15-minute workout, and I've really been changing up a few things in my diet. And I was just like, wow, I felt really strong and really good after that workout. And when I'm not consuming really good foods and I'm tired, and the kids are like having a bad day, or they're teething, and that's when I notice as well, like my stress levels are up and I'm not feeling strong enough to tackle what I'm taking on that day.
Yeah.
So that's for me personally why. But I don't think that women should beat themselves up either if they, I'm not saying they made a bad choice either, but if they're eating something and then they feel a little bit guilty for eating that, like, it's hard to put it out there without saying, you're doing it right or you're doing it wrong. You don't want to offend anyone. But for me personally, like I really do enjoy looking after myself with good food.
Yeah.
I like to spend my money so much, not on clothes anymore, but I love to spend it on good food. So yeah.
I tell my women in the gym, there is no good or bad food. Your body doesn't actually know the difference between carrot or chocolate. It's not like, dun dun, you put chocolate in, you are bad. It just has a different energy value. But there is a difference in how you feel. Sugar spikes your insulin, which gives you that high and low, and eating foods that are more stodgy, and they actually make you feel heavy as your body's trying to digest them. So there is no good or bad food. There's food that makes you feel better, and there's food that can make you feel worse. Not that they're good or bad inheritably, because you could eat chocolate and have no negative feeling to it at all, but other people can eat it and feel crap for it. So it's about sort of, your body does love vitamins and minerals, and foods that contain vitamins and minerals will generally make you feel better. But eating a chocolate or a bag of chips or some ice cream is not going to, end the world. It's okay, and balance.
Yeah, you can't beat yourself up. And like, again, like if you aren't sleeping, it's when I really, really crave sugar. Like especially in those newborn days, I was like, oh my God, all I want is sugar. All I want is like sweet. Well, that's, I guess, my body might not necessarily be craving it, but that's what I was thinking. I'm like, this is what I want. This is what I want. And and I've always enjoyed like going, okay, well, I really do love chocolate, but I just call it healthy land chocolate in our family, but where I've made up like this chocolate with like some peanut butter, some coconut oil, some cacao, and we mix in berries, nuts. It's like a really fun thing that we do. Like, oh, what kind of chocolate do you want to make this week to Cruz and Winnie? And we make all the mix-ins, and for that, like we really love eating it. Like we love it more than we love chocolate. Like, so for me, like, and that whole experience of making that with my kids, that's kind of what I'm trying to work towards with food now, rather than, feeling guilty about eating too much of this, or, or if I went to a girlfriend's baby shower and I was like, oh, I really, really want to have a bit of that cake. Hey, I don't eat it normally, but then the next day I'm like, okay. But whereas probably 5 years ago, I probably would have went home and cried and thought I'd put on 10 kilos and, done everything in my power to go and work it up on the treadmill. Like, it's so, now I'm just like, oh, I just really enjoy it. And I'm like, it's okay. Or sometimes I might not enjoy it. My body might not like it after, but I'm like, hey, I made that choice at that time to eat it. So it's okay. It's not the end of the world.
You craved for ages. You're like, oh, we had Chinese the other night. It was the biggest mistake. I hadn't had it in maybe, 2 years or more. And I was like, I want it. And as soon as you ate it, you were like, I don't know why I ate that. Yeah. And my husband doesn't like it, but he went because I really wanted it. And
he wanted it.
Like, yeah, I don't know why we went. I was like, I don't know either. Like, I remember enjoying this a lot more a long time ago. What I do now. But again, as once you start to eliminate like a lot of oil and stuff like that, all of a sudden your stomach's like, what is this? What are you doing to me?
Yeah.
This doesn't feel very nice. When you're touching on cooking with the kids, like that's such a good idea as well. Like it includes them in learning more about food. I think it's really important that we are teaching our kids about food and cooking and getting them involved. And it's great bonding time too to have with them, getting them involved. And
Yeah.
most of the time they really love doing it. I remember cooking with my grandma, like that was one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, no, I really love getting my children involved in cooking. And even like Lottie now is at a stage where like we're making her foods and like she's sitting in the high chair while we're making, my recipes are always so basic. Like honestly, like people, okay, I know I eventually need to go out and buy these things and pop them in your pantry, but like people come over my house and they go, oh my God, there's nothing to eat. So I'm like, yeah, it's because I love making stuff. And they're like, oh, that's so time consuming. But I'm like, no, actually, I just put all the ingredients to my muffin in a Vitamix and literally chucked it in the oven for 30 minutes, gave them to my kids. And then there's enough there for a few days. Like, I'm like, it's not really that hard.
Yeah.
Like, well, for me, like, it doesn't really, like, my recipes are so basic. Like, it's just like bananas, oats, or, you know, I try and keep it really simple. And it's just staples that I have in my pantry, really. But yeah, the kids really do love it. And I love watching Lottie like the kids cook too. And then they all go like make these funny laughs when the blender's on. Sometimes I'll film it and share it in my Instagram stories and people are like, oh my God, don't you have anxiety watching your kids do that? I'm like, yeah, it's definitely there. But then I also see the joy on their faces too.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, give me the almond milk, I will put it in. But it's like, let it go. Just let them make the mess. We'll clean it up at the end.
Yeah, that's right.
And then they just love doing it, and I think they're really enjoying. And as much as you do get a bit anxious about the mess, but you think you really enjoyed that time making that food too. Yeah. And I love my kids seeing, like I take them to the markets and we go and get our produce from like this spray-free guy who knows my children, and they are everyone's there. It's like a mad rush on a Sunday, and Crew's like, Mummy, I want my own basket. And I'm like, so I'm putting 10 apples in a bag, and he's got 1 apple, 1 banana. And I'm like, you can see the look on people's faces sometimes like, oh my God, just take the basket off him and do it yourself. But I'm like, no, he's learning that, we're coming to the markets to get these foods. And I could easily just go, no, mate, you're sitting in the pram, you're not doing it today. But I just love the joy on his face. And he's like, Mummy, I bought this apple with this leaf at the market, and then he loves eating it. Like, and he does like eating the carrots raw, and he likes eating all these things, but he's seen like, he's come and got it with me from the market, or like, how do you take 3 kids to the shops? And I'm like, yeah, it is a bit of a nightmare, but I love I love explaining that kind of thing for my children.
Well, I can't just leave them at home. Obviously, I have to take them with me.
Yeah, well, I guess there is online shopping, which we have tried for budget reasons. But like my husband's really into it. That's his goals at the moment, is budgeting and doing all that. So he's really into it. But I'm like, he's like, why do you go to the shops all the time with the kids? I'm like, well, it gets them out and they're slowly enjoying it. Like, yeah, if there's a tantrum, hey, we have to leave. Like, it's fine. It does happen. They are going to be kids. They might not enjoy it that day. Yeah. But when we do go to the shops, like I'm like, oh, we're making this tonight, and they just love making it. I'm like, oh, we bought that, or we got that, or Winnie will be like, I got that from the market. So yeah, so no, I really do enjoy having my kids like involved with the whole buying of the food and cooking of the food too. And because even for Winnie, like I've been putting broccoli on that girl's plates, and she was probably about 10 months old, and now she's still like, last week I was like hitting Dave, I'm like, she ate the broccoli, she finally ate it. And he's like, no way, she goes, this is really yummy, Mum. And I'm like, what the like, wow. But she finally ate it. But I would just eat it if I just take a little bit off my plate, so it wasn't going to waste. But I was like, oh well, she finally ate it. But I'm no expert, but this is just what's working in our family. And yeah, that makes me feel really good too, having that time with the kids, because I do consume a lot of the day too, running, Alice in Healthy Lands run not just by an hour at night, like I run it all day long. Like I'm constantly filming what we're doing and what we're using and stuff. So it's nice to take that time away and step it and, just see that little joy and on their faces and vice versa. So yeah.
No, and there's definitely some good ideas for mums out there to, to try with their kids and to enjoy those moments regardless of making you anxious on how much mess they're making, because they grow so fast. And it's those little moments and, you know, teaching them about food and teaching them about cooking and, you know, those little smiles. I was chatting to a mum this morning, and her bubs, I think he's about 4 months old, and he was just smiling at her, watching her talk. You know, it's those tiny little moments that
just really admiring,
so fleeting. Yeah, just being mindful and having that moment, you know, finding those little gratitude moments in your day, because there are so many. We just tend to be so busy that we're not actually seeing.
And once we get in a, sometimes it can be really hard to get out. It can be hard to think, poor me, you can really get stuck. I remember like having after Winnie and just being in a place, like I still was really grateful. Like I loved my pregnancy with Winnie, like Cruz, I was sick, and with Winnie, like I just really loved it. I felt like I really did feel like a glowing pregnant woman with Winnie, not my youngest. Like that again was another full-on pregnancy, but with Winnie I really embraced it. And then afterwards, like I don't know, like I felt I got stuck in a rut again, and you know, it sometimes can be really hard to pull yourself out of it too. But like you said, like seeing those little things in your day really does slowly start to enlighten your mind, and doing like these little practices. Like I have been really into writing 5 things a day that I'd like to do for myself. So this morning I wrote, like I don't get to do these every day. It would be amazing if I could, but today I wrote, I really want to do a skin body brush with some lemon essential oil or whatever I love to do. Or I'd really like to just take time, 10 minutes tonight, where I just wash my face and I'm mindful and I'm there. I'm like, you know, enjoying the water, or, you know, when I'm splashing my face, but really taking the time out. So I try and give myself, and again, another one was that workout today.
Yeah.
And just seeing that at the end of the day, like, I might not get to tick those 5 things off because life happens. But even if I got one of those things on that list for me, not my job, like my goals, my works, my mum goals and all that, but doing those little, you know, treat yourself things in that day, I can really, like, I know that I've had a good day when I've done something like that for myself as well. So
definitely. Yeah. And that's another good tip for women that are trying to add a little self-love to their lives, you know, making those lists. You know, it might be having a shower uninterrupted by yourself. You know, it's those little moments to yourself.
Reading a book for 5 minutes. If you're reading a book for 5 minutes, read a book for 5 minutes if that's all you have. Or, you know, just lay on the floor, like literally just close your eyes and lay on the floor for 2 minutes and take some deep breaths. Like, and you'll be surprised. You'll be like, oh, like you slowly become a bit more mindful of your body. I remember when I was really, really struggling, and my husband's like, what are you doing? But I remember just getting some coconut oil, like when I'd get out the shower at night, and I'll just like literally just grab a few of my favorite essential oils because I really love them. And I find mindfully, like whichever one I'm drawn to, I've got quite a few in my bathroom, whichever I'm drawn to, and I'll give myself a bit of an aromatic dressing, and I'll be like, oh, I'm really proud of your legs today for, you know, walking me here. Or, you know, I don't do this all the time. It's not something I practice, but I remember doing it for a period of time, and it's what really helped me just kind of get out of a rut again when I got into it with my body. And I was like, oh, I'm really grateful for my hands because I was able to pick up my children today. But doing that as I was putting like the essential oils in my body, and at first my husband's like, what the hell are you doing over there? And I was like, oh, I'm just doing something for me. And it actually really worked. But it's all trial and error. And if you feel silly, or if you don't feel right, doesn't feel right for you, just try and give a few other options, like a few other ideas for yourself. So
I love some something that I talk to clients about is self-love notes in the bathroom. You know, get some post-its and stick it on your bathroom mirror, stick it on the back of your toilet door, like stick it somewhere that
where you will look and actually look at it.
And read it out loud to yourself, you know. And it does feel silly at times to, you know, tell yourself, you know, I am strong, I am beautiful, whatever the thing is that you need to hear and that you're doubting in yourself. But it's funny how it does change over time, and it stops feeling silly and it starts to feel empowering and starts to change that mindset for you.
Yeah, like I wrote a post recently on like how I'm more than a number, but for someone else working towards a goal in their life, like yeah, I don't weigh myself, or I don't look at sizes on clothes anymore. But for someone like that is working towards being on stage as a fitness model, that might be okay for them. I'm not saying it's not okay for them either, because then you see this a whole lot of people criticizing, going, oh, well, you have bounced back and you have you're working towards and you've got down to this weight. And some people really love to share that they are going down that path, and that's okay, because they might feel okay with that. We're all built up differently, and but I just was like, oh, we are more than a number, because there's times where, like, I've heard my sister and like, oh my God, I had to get a size 14, or, you know, I had to buy like this size bra when I was pregnant. My boobs are huge. Like, I'm like, we're also can be so consumed by like numbers as well. And so like I wrote something a bit about that, but just maybe just write, like, if you hear some like negative thoughts that you're thinking about yourself or about your life, maybe just spend a day or two just writing them down, and then looking at what you've done, like all those negative things. You might have like 50 things. Yeah, okay. But okay, I'm going to work on that thing and that thing over the next 2 weeks or the next week or just tomorrow. And I'll see if it helps to spark any, you know, joy or, you know, within myself. Or you don't have to fix everything overnight, but just, and you might love something that you're doing, or you might not. So maybe just spend some time in a day and just be like, oh my God, I just put myself down again, or I ate an extra muffin that I made, and you're having a go, but like write it down and see, and then try and implement some strategies that way that could potentially help you, or some habits that might work for you. So
definitely. No, they're all some amazing tips. Is there any tools that you've come across that you'd recommend to our listeners in any aspect of your life that you've just found to be a really good resource? Could be a book.
I love Mel Wells, The Goddess Revolution. Like, she was a bit of a game changer for me. And she's even like, I just love watching her grow. She's someone that really inspires me online. She wrote The Goddess Revolution, and then she's also wrote Hungry for More, and she talks about being a model and an actress in Britain, and then how she became really consumed with losing weight and whatnot. And now she's very you would almost call her a bit of a sex goddess now, because she's like really into, you can really see that she preaches self-love, but like on intimacy levels, but like on food levels. And she went into like, became this big, like, she was like very, very open about being a plant-based vegan. And then recently she came out and she's like, I just wanted to eat a piece of meat this day. And all these people had a go at her and bullied her. But then she was just, the way she then went into that journey about how, like, well, it's my body and I'm totally okay with having a piece of meat once a month, or, you know, and I just really admire her online. So that's definitely someone that I love. And I like Rachel Hollis too. Like, she's got a lot of podcasts and she's got some books as well. So they're really two big role models and tools. And you can listen to them on Audible, I think is how I listen to them.
Yeah.
So
love Audible. Not sponsored by them, but an amazing.
No, I think it's Audible, or like any like book on, I think even iBooks have like on your phone. Yeah. Or you can go down.
Kindle? Oh no, that doesn't read for you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
no, they were like people that I really loved listening to, like while I was driving to work when I was working, or, you know, why I was hanging out the washing. They were two people that I really loved too. And again, you've got to take what works for you from that book. There was some of the thing that Rachel Hollis was going on about hustling, and I'm like, I just feel that when I feel like I'm hustling all the time, it was too overwhelming. But there was some beautiful things she said in there which really inspired me as a mum too. So again, just take what you can. But I really loved those two people. I thought they were amazing. So
audiobooks are a great one for mums. For me, I definitely 100% do not have time to sit down and read a book. And I find that my brain can't focus on reading a book either, where for others, you might love like getting to just sit down and read might be great. But for me, audiobooks and having someone read for me is amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
see, I like mine. Like, sorry, I love, sorry, I'm like, did you finish? Sorry.
No, you're right.
I really love like mindfulness books. But if I'm sitting there at 9 o'clock at night reading a mindfulness book, I'm like, oh my God, I need to go and change my life, or I'm going to go and implement that. And I can't go to sleep. So like I read like, I don't know, like romantic comedies, or like just something really easygoing so that I can go off to sleep. Like I actually just try, like sometimes it's only 10 minutes, but it's like not a phone, not a podcast. Like I just like reading, but I'm like, oh, I tried the whole mindfulness thing at night, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to go change my life. And I'm like constantly thinking about it all night. So I was like, no, can't do that at night. But for some people, they love reading that stuff before they go to bed. So
yeah.
So I just love like a girly rom-com, or, you know, sometimes my husband at the moment, he likes watching Arrow, and he's like, come and watch it with me. And I'm like, okay, let's do it then.
Oh yes, we've just been binging that. I've watched like the whole. Actually, no, he kept skipping episodes on me to begin with while he was trying to work out where he was up to. So he'd watch like 10 minutes and then like skip to the next one. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I thought you were working on your computer. I'm like, but I'm half watching because it's in the background. Like,
still typing this email while
yeah. And I'm like,
what are you totally doing this?
So I kind of am confused by the start of the storyline, but I've watched almost the end of it. He's like, oh, a new season came out. I was like, yay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on today. They've been some great tips for women on, you know, what self-love might look like for you, and it looks different on everybody, and that's the main thing to remember. Take some tools that you've heard today, try them out for yourself. If it doesn't work, that's perfectly okay, because everybody's life is different, everybody's bodies are different, everybody's journey is different. And just be kind to yourself, because
really try, because
it is a journey.
It is, and it can be, we've all done, like, you know, people have lost people that are close to them in their life, or you might have been through something traumatic. So, and give yourself time. Like, don't feel like you're going to be, I love myself every day, because, you know, you've got to be okay with the self-doubt that's happening as well. Like, there's obviously something else going on in your mind that's causing the self-doubt too. But also, like, I have been caught in a rut before, and it's not fun too. So if you can try and implement some of these things that we've shared today, or that maybe someone else that inspires you shares, just really give yourself the chance to give it a go too. So
definitely. Well, people can find you over at Alice in Healthy Land. And I will also pop all your details over on the Hello Vagina podcast website. So if anybody wants some more information to go follow you, they'll be able to get all your details there. But thanks so much for being on the show today, Alice.
Lovely. Thank you so much for having me. I had such a fun time chatting. It was like chatting to a girlfriend. It was lovely.
That's it. Awesome. Until next time. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for joining another episode of the Hello Vagina podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you have, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode and you're notified when a new episode comes out. Also, we would love for you to tap some stars for us and to leave a review so that others can see how much you enjoyed the podcast and what we're all about. So don't forget, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, stay beautiful.